In the summer of 1954, Willow Creek was a quiet American town where the trains still whistled through the valleys, and life moved with a gentle, unhurried rhythm. People waved from porches, radios hummed softly inside kitchens, and the world felt simple, except for the matters of the heart. Eleanor Hayes, a 41-year-old widow, ran a small bookshop on Maple Street. She wore her hair in soft curls, always pinned neatly behind one ear, and carried herself with a calm dignity that came from surviving life's storms. She had loved once, deeply, bravely, but loss had made her heart cautious. Across town lived Thomas Reed, 45, a quiet, well-mannered station master at Willow Creek Railway. His life revolved around timetables, train whistles, and small routines that kept loneliness from settling too deeply. Every morning at 7:10 sharp, he would walk past Eleanor's shop on his way to the station, and every morning, without fail, she would look up from her book and nod politely. Neither dared say more, because love, after a certain age, becomes something delicate, like glass handled with trembling hands. A chance meeting in the rain. One late afternoon, the sky over Willow Creek turned gray, and the first drops of rain began to fall. Thomas, running late after a broken signal at the station, hurried down Maple Street. He passed Eleanor's shop just as she was pulling in the books displayed outside. A strong gust of wind blew her umbrella from her hand. Thomas caught it, and for the first time in their quiet daily ritual, they laughed. "Thank you," Eleanor said softly, brushing a wet curl from her cheek. "It seems Willow Creek weather likes trouble," Thomas answered. The rain grew heavier, so Eleanor invited him inside. Inside the shop, surrounded by the scent of old pages and warm lamplight, Thomas felt something he hadn't felt in years. A gentle ease, like his heart finally belonged somewhere. They talked about books, the trains that came and went, the war, and all the small heartbreaks life had carved into them. The conversation felt natural, almost familiar, as if they had known each other in another lifetime. The letter never given. Over the next weeks, Thomas found excuses to stop by the bookshop, returning a book he hadn't actually finished, checking if a new shipment had arrived, or simply asking about the weather. Eleanor noticed, and she found herself smiling more, humming softly as she dusted the shelves. But just as their friendship began to deepen, Thomas received a transfer letter from the railway office. He was being reassigned to another town, hours away. He wrote a letter to Eleanor, explaining how meeting her had softened the quiet ache of his life, how she had unknowingly given him hope again, how he wished he could stay, but duty called. He slipped the letter into his coat pocket, intending to give it to her. But when he entered the shop, Eleanor greeted him with her usual gentle smile, and Thomas, fearful of ruining the fragile beauty of what they had, said nothing. He left without giving her the letter. The last train. On the evening of his departure, the sun dipped behind the hills and cast a warm, golden glow over the station. Thomas stood on the platform, coat buttoned, suitcase in hand, heart heavier than he liked to admit. The 8:45 train's whistle echoed across the valley. Just as he took a step toward the carriage, he heard hurried footsteps on the wooden platform. "Thomas!" He turned. Eleanor was out of breath, her dress slightly damp from running through the misty night air. Her eyes, usually so composed, were filled with fear and something deeper. "You weren't going to say goodbye?" He swallowed, unable to hide the tremble in his voice. "I didn't want to burden you." "Burden me?" she said softly. "Thomas, I haven't felt this alive in years." A silence hung between them, full and trembling. "Don't go," Eleanor whispered. "Not tonight." Thomas reached into his coat, pulled out the letter, and handed it to her. She read it slowly, her eyes softening with every line. When she finished, she looked at him with tears glimmering. All this time, he answered. The station lights flickered. The train wheels rattled. But Thomas didn't step aboard. He stayed. A new beginning in Willow Creek. They walked back to town together, side by side, saying little. Because sometimes love doesn't need words to be understood. In the weeks that followed, Thomas found a way to transfer back to Willow Creek. He returned to his station master post. Eleanor welcomed him with fresh coffee every morning. Their days grew intertwined, gently and naturally. And in that quiet 1950s town, two hearts, once bruised by life, learned to love again. Not with the fire of youth, but with the soft, steady glow of people who finally understood what it meant to choose each other.